Today's project is by popular demand. You asked for it, I'm doing it. When I made my crystal and chain upside down earrings, I was asked quite a lot about a necklace to match. So today, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a necklace to go with the earrings, as well as talk about everything that you need. Remember to watch to the end of the video so that you can take advantage of the 20% discount on all of the supplies that you need to make this necklace. I'm not going to talk you through making the focal part of this necklace because we made it for the earrings. So if you haven't seen that video, then go ahead and watch it. I'll leave it linked up here, and then come back and watch this one next. So obviously you're going to need that focal part. So that's the earring minus the ear hook. As well as that, you're going to need some 22 gauge wire. You'll need some more of the chain that you used for the earring, and this you'll probably need about 50 centimeters, which is about 20 inches. You will need some 4mm jump rings, a lobster clasp with, this one has a 4mm on either end, but I'm going to use a 6mm jump ring instead of one of these. You will also need some 8x6 rondelles. These ones are the faceted glass ones I used here. And these ones are some Himalaiki rondelles as well, 3x4. You'll need some of the stardust beads, 4mm in silver. And I've got here two different types of beaded rondelles. So with the earrings, I only used these ones, but this time I'm going to be using these smaller ones as well. Now the truth is that I actually ran out of the larger ones, and that is why I employed the smaller ones, but I really liked the way it looked, so I was quite happy with that decision. You will need some tools, obviously. 2 pairs of chain nose pliers. You'll need some flush cutters, some round nose pliers, and you may like to use a one-step looper. This is the 2.25mm one, but if you don't have a one-step looper, you can use the round nose pliers. Now, if you haven't made loops before, I will leave you a link in the description box for a video all about how to do that as well. So the first thing we're going to do is make a part that goes in the center here to connect our focal piece. So we're going to start off with a piece of wire. And I'm going to make a loop in one end. And it's not quite closed, so I'm just going to close it properly. There we go. So there's my loop. Now before I go any further, what I need to do is join some jump rings to this component. So I'm going to take one of my jump rings and make sure that it's really, really well closed, which this one is. And if you haven't used jump rings before, then I will leave you a link in the description box for a video on how to do that. Now I'm going to feed onto my jump ring here. Feed on my closed jump ring to an open one. And close it up. You want to make sure it's really well closed. And then I'm going to take another jump ring and I'm going to open this one. And I'm going to feed it onto the connector, the top loop of the connector there. And I'm also going to feed on one of those jump rings that I just closed. And I'm going to close up that jump ring. Wiggling back and forward and pushing to make sure it's really nicely closed. So there it is with its 2 jump rings attached. And next I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to thread on one of my beaded rondelles, my larger ones, one of my crystal rondelles, and another beaded rondelle. So you'll recognize this as the main part of the focal here. That's this part here. And then I'm going to feed on that top jump ring. Like that. And now I'm going to repeat that. So another beaded rondelle, and a crystal rondelle and one more beaded rondelle. So there it is. And now I'm going to make a loop in the end. And my loop isn't quite close. I'm just going to take my round nose pliers and just move it in a little bit. There we go. Now I want to make sure that both my loops are going the same way, so I'm going to take them in my pliers. You can see they're not quite even, and just turn them so that my pliers are facing exactly the same way. And now I'm going to just give that a little bend up. And there is my component, my center focal part done. All right. Next I'm going to take some more wire. Where's the end gone? There we go. And I'm going to make a loop in the end. It's not quite closed, so I'll just close it up. Now I'm going to feed on one of my little rondelles, my Himalaki ones. I find it very hard to find the holes in these little beads. There we go. And next I'm going to put on my stardust bead, then one of my smaller rondelles, my crystal rondelle, and then I'm going to just reverse that. So a beaded rondelle, a stardust bead, and another Himalaki one as well. There we go. And I will make a loop in the end. And just making sure that that loop is closed. And now I need to repeat that for the other side, so I'll do both sides at once. Now I have my two components, and I'm going to join those on using some jump rings. So taking a 4mm jump ring and opening it. And I'm going to feed on the link or the loop of the first component that I made and the loop of the second component, and I'm going to close that up. And I'm just going to repeat that for the other side. So that's what I have now. Next I'm going to use some chain because I wanted to repeat the chain from the focal up into the sides here. Now I'm actually going to be using some teeny tiny pieces of chain, only 2 centimeters long. Now the easiest way to measure your chain to make sure it's the same length is to take a head pin or something and hang your chain like this. So I've got 2 pieces there, but I wanted to show you how I cut my chain as well. I've already pre-cut most of it, but let's go with this piece here. So you can see this piece is longer. So by hanging it off a eye pin or head pin or a piece of wire, what that allows you to do is see exactly where you want to cut it. So you can just grab that link with your cutters and then go ahead and cut it. And so this chain, each piece is 2 centimeters long. So now when I hang it, all my pieces are exactly the same length. So that's my tip for cutting your chain. So we're going to use a jump ring to attach our chain. So once again, just grabbing your chain nose pliers and opening the jump ring. And this time we're feeding on the loop of that component that we made, and we're feeding on the end link of one of our little pieces of chain. And just closing up that jump ring. And repeat for the other side. So that's what it looks like now with its little chain components attached. Next, I'm going to make another component with my beaded rondelles, with my crystal rondelles. Just taking another piece of wire and my one-step looper. Just making a loop in the end. I don't know about you, if you've got a one-step looper, please tell me in the comments section below. Do your loops always close, or do you need to adjust them like I do? I think it's just me, but it would be really interesting to know. And I'm feeding on one of my beaded rondelles, the smaller ones, one of my crystal faceted rondelles, and another beaded rondelle. So this is just a teeny tiny component with a loop on the other end. And you'll need your loops this time going in opposite directions. So one up and one flat like that. So there is my little component, and I'm going to make another one first. Okay, so there's my two, and now I'm going to join them together. So I'm going to take another jump ring and open it, feed on my little component and the end link of my chain. Whoops. And closing that up. And just repeat that for the other side. By the way, if you're interested in making the necklace that I'm wearing today, this is my Summer Forever necklace, and I will leave you a link in the description box for the tutorial. And if you want to see more, remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you will be notified every time I upload a new video. That way you'll never miss a thing. So there we are with our chain and our little components on the end. Now we're going to add some more chain to that one. So I need to make two more of the components, and I need to add them, basically repeating that again. Alright, so now I have repeated that so that I have two lots of chain and two of my rondelle components. And I've done that on both sides. So all that's left to do is, obviously this is too short, so we need to add some extra chain so that it will fit around the backs of our necks and also the clasp. So to do that, I've measured out two pieces of chain, 10 centimeters long. 10 centimeters is about 5 inches, I believe. And then I'm going to join that on with some jump rings, just like before. So as you can see, this is a pretty easy project once you've made the center component, and the center component isn't that hard. It's just, there's a lot of moving parts. So go ahead and watch that one first. So there's one side, and I'm going to do the repeat for the other side. So there you have it. It's got its nice long chain, and it should fit your neck. Just double check. Make sure it's the right length, which it looks like it's about right. Now remember that when you are creating a necklace, you need to allow about 1 centimetre for your clasp. So if you have a look at my clasp here with my ruler, my clasp is actually 1 centimetre long, but by the time you add the two jump rings, it's a little bit more than that, so probably about 1.5 centimetres. So you adjust to fit you. Now, as I said, this little clasp has jump rings already attached. And I'm not going to mess with those, except that I'm going to take one off the side that opens, because I don't want to use that one. Because as you can see, I find them quite tricky to get a 4mm one out of a clasp. There we go. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use my 6mm one. So I'm going to take my 6mm jump ring and open it. Now if the necklace is a little short for you, you could add another 4mm jump ring and then the 6, but I'm not going to do that. I do need to remember though that to add the clasp, I want the clasp on my right hand side because I'm right-handed. So I'm going to put the jump ring on my left hand side of my necklace. It just makes it easier for you to open and close your clasp. You want to make sure it's nicely closed really, really well. So there is my chain with its 6mm jump ring on it. I'm going to take the other side and open the jump ring, and I'm going to put on the chain. And close it up. Once again, making sure it's really, really well closed. So there is my clasp. So there's my necklace. And I think it's really nice. And I debated quite a lot about whether or not to use any chain hanging down, where just like on the focal, but I decided not to because honestly it looked too busy and I thought that I should let that focal stand alone. So that's what I did. So thank you so much for watching today. Remember to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and also if you want that code to get 20% off the supplies, it is upside down, the same code that you use for the earrings, because obviously they use all the same supplies. So go forth and purchase the supplies and make this necklace. And thank you so much. I will see you again soon.